Thousands of South Africans across the country have been protesting against a new law known as the Baylor Bill. I'll share both sides of the argument and you can decide for yourself what to believe. The government says that the Baylor Bill is intended to make language policies in schools more inclusive. They will do this by taking power away from schools and school governing bodies in deciding on how languages are used in their schools. For example, a fully Afrikaans school could now essentially be forced to try accommodate learners who would want to enroll and who do not speak Afrikaans. Essentially, many schools will have no choice but to become bilingual or to accommodate other languages in some fashion. Those opposed to the bill claim that these clauses give the state too much control over who gets an education at any particular school and in what language. There are concerns that this will prevent many learners from receiving education in their home language. And many in the Afrikaans community believe that the Baylor Bill is specifically targeting Afrikaans schools. Let me know your thoughts on this.
That's the whole gist of it. As to why the Afrikaner community, mainly AfriForum, DA, Freedom Front Plus, and other smaller groups, including Patriotic Alliance, Gayton was there as well. They all went out to protest against the Baylor Bill, clauses 4 and 5. Clauses 4 is the clause where it states that the HOD or the head of department of basic education has the final say as to what admissions policies they are for the school. And then clauses 5 is about language. So the school governing body can propose a language policy, but the HOD has the final say in that.
Why are we fighting that though? Why are we fighting a national standard? Do you know what I'm saying? Like, why are you fighting that you should have your own individual bias standards? Do you understand? Because the whole point of nationalizing these kind of standards is to take away that kind of bias that sort of discriminates against people that are not of that.
So I don't want to just play the racism card here because that's too lazy. It's too lazy. We need to get into it deeper.
I don't even want to take it in that angle.
As to why Afrikaner community feel attacked. Right? So the Afrikaner community have had this hysteria for I don't know for how long. Maybe after the Anglo-Boer War, they've just had this hysteria.
What, of extinction?
Yes. So their whole MO and the whole reason as to why they do the things that they do
is to save their...
They always say they want to preserve their culture. They want to preserve their language.
Understandable.
Everything that they do is based off of that.
Yes.
So when you Google why Oranje exists, one of the first things they say there is to preserve Afrikaner culture and to preserve Afrikaner language. And they feel like they're an endangered species. Right? Based off of that, once you understand how they think and why they have this hysteria as to...
I mean, one can understand that. Let's be honest, you can understand that. You can understand that hysteria and you can understand people trying to proactively do stuff to save that. But schools are schools. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
If you want to make sure your language and your culture stays relevant, you've got home to do that. We've been doing that for a while. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been doing it for the longest because not all, especially in times where we started having to integrate and stuff like that, like, your language has nothing to do with the situation at school, you know?
Well,
and we
that's the
all come
argument.
in different languages to the school. So it's like we need to use a language that all can understand.
No, so the argument is that, again, based off of self-preservation.
Yes.
The CEO of AfriForum states that one of the only ways to preserve the Afrikaner language is in their schools. That's why you have a lot of Afrikaner-only schools in the country where people who only speak Afrikaans can attend. But then a lot of people feel like that's discriminatory. That's them just trying to exclude other pupils from attending that school. So again, this whole Bella Act is its sole purpose is to be more inclusion based. It's trying to include more pupils into school. So there are situations where you have, let's say in a neighborhood, you have a lot of Xhosa speaking kids there. The closest school there is an Afrikaans school.
What's that child gonna? They
can't attend that school because the admissions policy there is that you need your Afrikaans needs to be your first language,
home language,
in order for you to attend that school. So instead of going to the closest school there, they have to walk, or they have to go further away to find a school that will accommodate them. So the bill is trying to stop something like that.
And honestly, like, we've got a lot of kids that need schools. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I think at this point, the government also has to do something and intervene. Building schools is not something you can do overnight. Now, it's like, it's a matter of looking, well, we have schools, but now we've got these schools, you know, that are excluding people, where a lot of children can be going to those schools. So at some point, and I feel like it's good of a government to do that, to think about what's best for the country. We understand you want to preserve your language. We understand we've all had these kind of battles with ourselves as well in all our diversities. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, at some point, like, you have to find other means of learning to preserve.
So you know what's funny about this whole thing? That's why I'm saying that if you understand their psyche and why this hysteria drives them so much.
I'm also saying I get it.
This whole bill does not remove Afrikaans in schools at all. So all it's doing is that it's going to force Afrikaans only speaking schools to add more languages for other children to be able to go and study there. That's all it's doing. That's it. So the Afrikaner community is protesting that. So again, once you understand their psyche.
But why don't you want to accommodate other people?
That's what I'm saying. Once you understand their psyche, you understand.
But then that's what takes it to other people thinking it has to be about.
Yes. Once you understand their psyche, you understand that why Orania exists, why Afrikaans only schools exist, all that stuff like that. So to them, they cannot include other cultures. They cannot coexist with other cultures. They can't do that out of the fear that their culture is going to be lost. You understand that? So even if they are presented with a solution that could also benefit them, because there are also situations where there are Afrikaans speaking people, and then the closest school there is an English and second language closer school there. So that school will be forced to accommodate to add Afrikaans as a language. So those Afrikaans speaking people can go attend that school. So it will also benefit them. But because they know they're going to lose.
They don't want the mixing.
They're going to lose that control. They're going to lose that control to isolate their culture from the rest of society. So
the big problem is not really the language, if we're being honest. Because it's not that there's no accommodation or you won't be hearing any Afrikaans or anything like that. It's the sharing of the schools with non-Afrikaans people.
So the Afrikaner community feels that if they ever have to intermingle with other cultures, their culture is gone. It's done. That's why a lot of Afrikaner parents will tell their children not to date outside of their race, not to date outside of their culture as well. So even if it's an Afrikaner child dating an English speaking white person, that's also frowned upon.
That's the thing, right? These things are not new to them. That's why we can also understand. Do you know what I'm saying? They're not new to them, these problems of like, oh, worried about internet. But it's like, we've understood that the world is moving a certain way and you unfortunately have to move with it. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, we've all been forced to integrate, to come together, even when there's a lot of resistance in some areas. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, you can't just have your way like that, you know, all the time. Like, unfortunately, you can't.
This whole thing is what fuels their racism. This whole hysteria that they have.
It's not so the hate of the next, but more of the preservation
of self.
Like,
so preservation of self is so important to them. It is a main factor of why they are racist. So this is why racism from an Afrikaner and then racism from a British or an English-speaking white person is completely different.
Absolutely.
Completely different. An Afrikaner generally doesn't hate you.
Yeah.
Generally, they don't hate you. They just don't want to
mingle
with you based on self-preservation.
Yes.
While the British or the white, the English-speaking white person,
they love people that are trying to be mixing like in relationships and stuff like that.
Yeah, so they hate
that. That is blasphemy.
But again, so
it's an abomination.
They are one of the few minorities in the world that have this hysteria to this degree.
To this extent.
Like where it drives everything that they do.
Yes.
So for example, if you look over like in the United States, black people are the minority there. Yeah. Black people, Latinos, and all those. Yes. White people are the majority there. And black people are the minority there.
They don't really.
But you don't see black people being discriminatory. You don't see them trying to isolate from the rest of the world.
Yeah.
You don't see them trying to be racist. You don't see them being racist like that just to preserve their culture.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. So again, if you think about all this, the reason why they're racist is because of that. But again, they're one of the few minorities in the world that do that.
Yeah.
They're racist because of that. So my theory as to why they have this hysteria, my theory. Any Afrikaans-speaking person who comes across this video can let us know more in the comments in more detail as to why this hysteria exists. But my theory is that because the Afrikaners are like one of the few minorities in the world that don't relate to their Dutch roots.
Yes.
They
are like their own.
Yeah.
They are. Like South Africa for them is all they know.
So they cut themselves off from their roots, from their Dutch roots. So they don't feel connected to the Dutch. They'll never feel like
I've got a home.
Yeah, they'll never feel like our culture will always be there because
the culture is totally different.
We have a country that actually, their culture is completely different, and this is all they have. This is all they know. This is This is just them. It's just them.
And should it go, like there will be no more.
Yeah, they will be extinct.
There will be no more of it. Like nobody will know all the things, all the cultural stuff.
While other minorities are still connected to their roots. So African Americans will still will still see Africa as home. Indians will still see India as home. So whenever somebody or the government or whatever or whoever takes away any liberties that they have to isolate themselves from the rest of society, they will come out in numbers like this and do this. That's why the CEO of AfriForum.
Beautiful to see.
That's why the CEO of AfriForum was saying that this is the biggest protest they've had since 1994.
Yeah.
And again, why were you protesting in 1994?
Because you didn't want to integrate.
Because you didn't want to integrate with the rest of society.
Yeah.
So now there's a bill now that's gonna force Afrikaans schools to integrate with the rest of society, and y'all don't want that. So that's the crux of it all. The most disappointing thing out of all of this is you have ministers in that march. You have your DA. You have John Steenhuisen in there, which you would expect him to be there. And then you have Gayton. A lot of people disappointed in Gayton for being there because he is supposed to be one of the people who are trying to unify the country. But again, he was there, and they say he was toiling to his masters, all that kind of stuff like that. And he said something very interesting, is that he's saying that he wants to fight for Afrikaans, and he wants to fight to make all languages equal, which is the point of the whole bill.
I will fight for Afrikaans, and we're going to fight for Afrikaans. And we're going to fight for every other language. All languages should be equal.
So you can just see that there's some propaganda there that's being pushed, and even you as a minister, you don't even take the time to read and understand,
so you can actually
to read and understand the bill and what it actually is doing, and then you can properly educate people. You also go with the propaganda that these Afrikaner groups are pushing, which is completely wrong. And that's why a lot of people were disappointed in Gayton.
Yeah.
But John Steenhuisen, everybody was like, it's whatever, you can expect him there. But Gayton, it was weird. And on top of that, you have ministers who are in government who work with Cyril all the time, out there protesting with with common citizens, which is weird. You've never seen that before, and they say, and that's the whole dilemma with the whole GNU now. Now you're gonna have ministers protesting against their president, and which makes the government look like it's not united as they try to portray, which is wrong. And also the color orange was symbolizes apartheid. People just saw apartheid again. Some people saw the Dutch and all of that sea of orange, because the Dutch usually whenever they out in masses, they wearing orange as well. So it just shows that are you guys really South African, or what's going on here? Why are you having Dutch colors in masses? Your orange, your blues, and your whites, apartheid colors with the apartheid flag. In some instances, there were people with the apartheid flag in the protest.
Yeah, like, are you Dutch or are you South African? And
they had to be chased away and stuff like that. So, and all in all, people were not happy with the march. Obviously, again, people are marching against being inclusive, which is wrong. But anyway, you guys just let us know what you think about this whole situation.
Yeah, let us know.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
And keep watching. Goodbye.
We'll check you guys in the next one.